Welcome back to The Grind for a brief video on the details for the Guillotine Buff. Now, I was very excited about this, and I did put out a video just yesterday. Actually, I put it this morning. I put it together yesterday to showcase what the old Guillotine could do, and then we'll talk about what the new Guillotine can do, and then, of course, we'll do videos on the new Guillotine with and without synergies and see how she does. Now, I was very excited about this because I do have a 6-star Awakened Guillotine, and I was very excited for her potential. She did get a slight prestige boost, but nothing that breaks the game or makes you want to have her at the top of your roster. We're not going to read everything, but we're going to highlight some of the major components that are different and what might be good and what might be bad. The first thing to take note of is always active now, Life Siphon. Guillotine heals 2% of all damage taken by the opponent. So as you're dealing damage to the opponent, each hit is going to deal or give you health back. Even bleed damage is going to give you health back. And as we're going to see, she does have access to G-Gen, and that will give you health back as well. However, 2% is a fairly small amount. When you look at a 100,000 health opponent, that's 2,000 health back for the whole fight. 150,000 health opponent would be about 3,000 health back, and that's about 10% of a max 5-star or a rank 2 6-star. And so, that's okay for healing, but considering the entire fight only gives you 10% worth of healing, you can't really take that much damage. And if you're using recoil mastery, you're going to be taking damage back from that. And so, it's nice that there is this constant healing, and for easier fights or lower health fights, you can guarantee you're going to gain back, maybe 3 to 5% of your overall health, and that consistently over the Alliance quest or whatever you're doing might be nice. But really, if you have like a small health opponent, it's not going to end up feeling like much healing. At least it doesn't seem like it. Now, I hope that I'm wrong, and hopefully it will feel kind of nice even in just general questing scenarios, but we'll have to see how that works. Now, one of the nice changes is the soul charges. They're much easier to acquire, but they did put a max of 15, which is unfortunate because you used to be able to build them up higher than that. Now, each time either champion loses 5% health or is inflicted with a bleed effect, gain 1 soul charge. The first 10 are indefinite, but after that, they only last 10 seconds each, except there are synergies that can prolong that. So it'll be much easier to acquire these. And if you get hit, or if you have recoil and you lose 5% health, that'll give you a charge as well, because previously it was only damage dealt to the opponent. But you also did not get these for bleed effects, and you should be able to apply consistent bleeds with Guillotine. So you should be able to continue to reaccumulate these quite easily. Now, each soul charge gives you 148 attack rating, which is nice. You get a little extra attack damage for building those up. And at 10 plus, Guillotine becomes unshackled, enhancing her special attacks until she goes below 6 charges. And basically, it's going to make the special attacks unblockable and have a little bit of an extra ability on it. So each critical hit has a 35% chance to inflict a bleed debuff, causing 1,700 direct damage over 5 seconds, and it increases each time or for each buff on the opponent. Now, there used to be a higher chance and a higher damage of the bleed, so that's kind of unfortunate, but I'm hoping that overall the damage will still be nice, especially because you'll require less synergies, which we'll talk about at the end. The heavy attack now has a 100% chance to inflict a 10-second bleed curse debuff, and while that is active, each hit of your special attacks is going to deal a more potent bleed. So a 5-second bleed that deals 2,200 damage with each hit of the special attack. So you can throw a heavy attack off and then throw your special 2 and get a few of those stacked up. So that's kind of nice, a little bit easier access to guaranteed bleeds. And then unshackled, they become passively unblockable during the attack, but each one has a special effect as well. So special 1, the final hit has a 100% chance to inflict a pain link debuff lasting 10 seconds. While active, any non-physical damage taken by Guillotine is also inflicted on the opponent as physical damage. So if you are bleeding, if you are degenerating, recoil damage, all of that will also be applied to the opponent, but you still have to take that damage. So it doesn't really protect you, and you're not likely going to want to use this for damage, so it might more be a defensive ability that you'll want to watch out for when you're fighting Guillotine. While unshackled, you spend 10 soul charges to apply basically 2 of these debuffs on the attack. And then special 2, The final hit has a 100% chance to inflict Spectre debuff like before, lasting 10 seconds and reducing regen by 200%. But if you're unshackled, so if you have over 15, then you will spend 10 of them, and it will pause the Spectre debuff for 10 seconds when it's first activated. So basically makes it 20 seconds. That will allow you a lot more time to chain on these special 2s and continue reversing heal without having to worry about having a window where they can heal. Special 3, this is one of the biggest drawbacks, unfortunately. The Special 3 for the original Guillotine was awesome because every charge gave you 2% damage to the opponent, no matter how high the health pool was. That's how in our original video yesterday or this morning, we did over 170,000 damage to Winter Soldier in Realm of Legends. Now, you will inflict a degeneration buff, debuff, causing 1,700 damage over 3 seconds. That's pretty small. But you consume all your charges to increase the duration of the degeneration by 3 seconds for each soul spent in this way. So you can make it last over 45 seconds and extend the damage that you're doing, but it's a somewhat small amount of damage compared to what she used to do, but it might feel kind of nice having that long, consistent damage over time effect applied. But I don't think the damage is going to be as nice overall because you don't have the ability to do a massive burst of damage with your Special 3. But the constant degen will result in constant healing for you as well. But again, it'll be a very small amount because it's only 2% of the damage. And now the signature ability, her signature ability used to be a much more potent healing ability. Now she has a less potent, more consistent healing ability. And so her signature ability is different. So whenever the opponent is immune to Guillotine's personal bleed effects, she has a 100% chance to inflict a rupture debuff. And this causes physical damage, and it also grants soul charges just like the bleeds would. So basically in bleed immune matchups, you get a rupture instead, but likely the 100% chance is at max sig, and as you have lower sig, it'll scale down. And so we'll have to see what that percent is at lower sig, because you might not really want to use her in bleed immune matchups at low sig, because the chance to inflict a bleed might be quite minimal. So some of the main drawbacks here are the major burst damage potential is now gone. The higher healing potential is now gone. You're quite limited in the healing that you can do throughout a matchup, especially in shorter, smaller questing scenarios. And so basically the healing was changed to potentially a less than ideal way, and we lost the major burst damage from the Special 3. And she does have a little bit increased attack damage because that'll be granted to her with the souls that she gains, and you can acquire these souls much more easily throughout the fight and maintain a higher amount of charges more easily. So that is an added bonus, but overall we'll have to see what happens when we take her into a matchup. I think that she might have more consistent high damage, but not the burst damage that she used to. So she might feel a little better in fights overall, but lacking that major burst damage is going to be quite different, a quite different feel for using Guillotine. Now, the one thing I would say that is very nice about this change is you used to have to use pretty much a full synergy team to get the most out of Guillotine, and that's because maintaining and building her charges was so difficult, so you could hardly ramp them up that high. Now, you'll be able to ramp them up much easier, so you won't need those synergy champions for the charges. The two synergies that I think will be very important for Guillotine is Night Thrasher, because you'll crit a lot more frequently with Night Thrasher, meaning you'll get a lot more bleeds, and the Purgatory synergy gives you critical bleeds on your critical hits. So those pair together very nicely. And since you can ramp up your charges on your own, having the extra critical hits and critical bleeds will really help to boost up the damage that Guillotine has. And so I think with those two synergy pieces, she might be a very strong overall champion with consistent damage. But again, lacking that major Special 3 damage is disappointing, but we'll have to see how it goes. The Special 3, from what I remember, has more hits than the other special attacks. So throwing off a heavy attack and then going into a Special 3 might be your best bet to maximize the bleeds from the bleed curse. But we'll really have to see how it goes when we get in game and test her out. So I'm excited to test her. Keep an eye on the channel if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.